Read something this morning that, it's no big shocking jolt. It's upsetting, but it's just where we are. The sociologist and activist Frances Fox Piven, I'm sure you've seen her before on various television talk shows or what have you. And she told The Guardian that she thinks the United States is getting complacent after the midterms, complacent about the threat to fascism in this country. I know I'm not. I doubt if you are too. She told The Guardian, quote, "I don't think this fight over elemental democracy is over by any means," end quote. And that's when she said, there's a good chance the United States could still become a fascist country. That's been a long struggle in this country between fascism in all its ugly forms and democracy in all its seemingly impossible forms. Now, Frances Fox Pivens, I don't know why it's hard to say her name, Frances Fox Piven, not Pivens. She's a sociologist and activist. And in that interview, which was published yesterday in The Guardian, Ms. Piven, and by the way, she is someone who has been targeted and threatened by the American fascists, the Marjorie Taylor Greene types, the Donald Trump types, who set their minions after somebody to scare them into submission or into silence, which they won't do, nor will I. But Piven warned that Americans should not get complacent after these midterms, where this, and the point she's trying to make, there was this widely anticipated red wave for the Christian terrorist party, and it failed to materialize. Even though the Christians did take control of the U.S. House. Piven said, quote, "I don't think this fight over elemental democracy is over by any means. The United States was well on the road to become a fascist country, and it still can become a fascist country." Yes, indeed. Now, the idea that this tired country could come under fascist rule, it's been talked about a lot. I talk about it here all the time. And sometimes with reference to this filthy son of a bitch, Donald Trump. For instance, Trump's former lawyer and fixer, poor old Michael Cohen, warned back in October that Trump is a standard bearer for these corrupt dictator wannabes, and that was his term. And Michael Cohen also said that Trump is a, quote, poster boy for fascism, end quote. Oh, my God. Oh, I'd like to see Trump just fall out of the upper story window in his one of his buildings, or get hit by a car or a truck driven by a radical feminist, lesbian, gay organizer or something. Now, Ms. Piven is not the only academic, obviously, who has predicted a fascist tilt to American politics. We're in it now, as far as I'm concerned, but especially coming up. The political scientist Thomas Homer Dixon, back in January, beginning of this year, warned that American democracy would collapse if Trump were to win in 2024. There's no question. But that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen, Mike Malloy said wistfully. In an op-ed in the Globe and Mail, Mr. Homer Dixon, who describes himself as, quote, a scholar of violent conflict, end quote. And he warned that our country, this country, the United States, is becoming increasingly ungovernable. And he also predicted, he's one of the many people in this particular field of government sociology, or whatever you want to call it, people who have warned that the U.S. could descend into another civil war if we continue on the current path. I've talked about this many times, and given the fact that we have, there's 350 million Americans roughly and 400 million guns, it would be a horrible situation. If we descend into civil war, not only is it going to be a horrible situation internally, but it will make the United States incredibly vulnerable to any global actor who decides now is the time to strike against the United States. Well, it's involved in a civil war. Let's go ahead and launch an attack against this capitalist Christian bullshit and eliminate it once and for all. There is that risk, right? Now, of course, the election just passed means that, the Democratic Party retains control of the Senate. But Ms. Piven is cautioning that there are many things still in place that could very easily take this country into fascism. She told The Guardian, quote, "There is the crazy mob, Maga, an elite that is oblivious to what is required for political stability, and a grab it and run mentality that is very strong, very dangerous. I was very frightened about what would happen in the election, and it still could happen," end quote. Now, she is making an obvious observation / prediction that I think any of us could make, that in the next years right ahead of us, there will be, when these pig Republicans get control of the House, finally there will be vengeance politics and attacks on President Biden from these Christian demons. Particularly, this will happen in this Christian-controlled Congress, the House. Piven's added this: "The MAGA mob is not a majority of the American population by any stretch of the imagination. But the fascist mob doesn't have to be the majority to set in motion the kinds of policies that crush democracy." Yeah. I still am perplexed where it concerns what motivates these Christian demons. I mean, what could they possibly want? Now, I realize the question is extremely naive given the things I talk about on this podcast and the things that you believe and the things that I believe, but let me just pursue a little bit further. Here these Christians, not only have they declared already that this is a Christian nation, 90% of the, I'm just tossing a number out there, it may be higher or lower, 90% of the governing population of this country, top to bottom, I'm saying from, local utilities, board members, school board members, all the way up to the presidency of the United States, 90% are Christian. 90% is not white any longer, but 90% is Christian. And that's what I'm talking about, is Christian terrorism, Christian fascism, because it's everywhere you want to look. It's every place. And so I asked myself, look, the Christians have and always have had complete control of this country. There weren't any Jews who wrote the Constitution. There weren't any Muslims, I don't think. I doubt if there are any atheists. They're all Christians. They wrote the Constitution. The business leadership, in this country is owned by Christians, managed or in the highest levels, Christians. Most of the wealth in this country, the richest man on earth is a Christian. A number of the richest people on earth are Christians. No, they're not Jews. Although, yeah, sure, there are a lot of rich Muslims, rich Hindus. Oh, my God, are there rich Hindus? Rich Jews, of course. But in this country, the majority of all the power brokers, all of them, the majority is Christian. So what the fuck are they? I mean, what is this railing against? Well, first of all, it's because every single Christian alive feels like he or she is being discriminated against. You're telling me I can't use bad words about people I don't like, and I can't refuse to bake a cake for someone I don't like, and you make me want to have my children go to school with gay kids? Oh my God. I mean, that's what it's all about. You've noticed that, haven't you? It's about race and sex. And of course, that's always been the big boogaboo in this country. Race and sex. Come on, be honest. You know it. You know, the scary black man is going to come and rape all these white women, right? How many men have been lynched in this country, black men, because of that bullshit? When the truth is, as is usually the case in these instances, the truth is just the opposite. There's white men who raped black women, especially enslaved black women, because, well, the white men owned them. So the Christians have everything. They had slavery. They have all the money. They have the political power. It's just insane. You know what it is that they want, though? What they want is a theocracy. And the framers of the Constitution, if they knew anything, they knew that mixing religion and politics was an explosive combination and fatal to whatever form of government might be in place prior to an attempt by Christian nutfucks to take over. I mean, they had, 1,500 years of European history to take a look at. So the framers tried in the First Amendment, Congress shall, not establish any religion or prohibit any from flourishing, just believe what you want to believe. But that wasn't good enough for these Christian terrorists, even back then. So the only thing that is still lacking for these son of a bitches is absolute control. Even though everything right now is in the hands of Christians, the Christian terrorists are still in kind of a minority, and they don't like that. Just like they make up bullshit about their religion, they also make up bullshit like Q. Q is somebody deep in the government who sends out little Q-tips, about what is real and what isn't real. And I mean, how do people lose their minds like that so completely? So completely. So what the Christian demons are looking for is absolute control, and a governing system that is taken out of their fucked up version of their fucked up Bible. They honestly believe that the Bible is about justice. The Bible is not about justice. The Bible is about torture and murder and denial of rights and slaughter and beating and killing and incest and rape and more incest. And I mean, it's just the bloodiest fucking book ever written. They talk about wanting to ban from schools a book like, say, The Color Purple, but they want to include the Bible? Are you fucking kidding me? It's just crazy. So we need to stay on high alert as long as it can, because as Francis Piven points out, it's easy now to say, well, we dodged a bullet. The Democrats are going to increase their control in the Senate by at least one, maybe two. And, okay, the Republicans have the House, but the House can be fumigated in 2 years. Once the American people see what these crazy cockroaches are going to do, these Christian demons, when they have 2 years of power, and no agenda, no plan, no ideas, no thoughts, nothing, except let's get Hunter Biden and a couple of these cabinet members. That's what we're going to do. Yeah. The politics of idiotic revenge, stupidity, asininity. Well, yeah. What in God's name would we expect from these people?
Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.